Welcome back to my channel. My name is Petra. Happy New Year. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about, well, 100% about parenting. And mainly, I thought I would talk about this clinginess thing that I hear so many parents complaining about their children being too clingy, not wanting to let go of them, and also, oh, I have my rain playing in the background. Maybe I should reduce the volume. Um, yeah. Okay, so as I was saying, a lot of people complain about their children being too clingy, and actually, most times people start complaining. From my observation, people start complaining about their children being too clingy when people make the remark to them that their child is being too clingy and that they should be able to spend some time without them and be fine with it, or that they're overreacting when they're left by their parents. That's what I've noticed. And I thought intuitively, I always knew that there's a reason why children cry. I always say this. There is always a reason why your child is crying. Children don't cry for the sake of crying, like so many people say. And I'm so glad that I've grown enough that it doesn't annoy me anymore when I hear people say this. I just know they're living in a different world. They're in a certain level of consciousness, and that's okay. So, anyways, why children are clingy? Actually, they're not clingy. They're just following nature's purpose. And nature has it that a child has to cling, i.e., attach to their attachment figure, to their parents, ideally, and take cues from this person and build the sense of safeness by being attached to this person. Because when you come into this world, you know, your brain knows that if you don't have your parents or if no one takes care of you, you're going to die. You know that. You may not be able to speak, but you know that you need your parents or whoever is taking care of you. You need them. You need to hang on to them because they are your everything. So when you're telling your child, stay away from me or just be independent, or you're forcing your child to be independent, in the actually you wouldn't people would never say that they are forcing their children to be independent. They're just teaching them to be independent. You can never ever teach, and science backs this up completely. Do your research. You can never teach anyone to be independent. Independence comes from being dependent. It's only once you've been dependent again, and you feel safe and secure within yourself, that you feel free, that a child feels free to go into the world and explore. Not before that. And if you force your child to be independent and they act like they're independent, they're just acting. They're not really independent. And if you really are you really observe your child keenly, you will see other areas where they still are that very, very dependent child, or they're what's the word for it? They are making up, making up for the lack of the dependence that they need in other ways. They could be aggressive, they could be passive. Some people think, I know I digress a little bit, but the ideal child in our world, and I mean gen population world, is a child that sits quiet, doesn't require much, is easy to work with, and I would describe that as a passive child. And I've seen a few what am I saying? Passive children recently, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy. That is a child that is already broken very, very early on, that has learned that they cannot rely on their parents to meet their needs. So they know to shut up and be quiet and be out of view from the people that are going to get annoyed, i.e., their parents. And you think that this child is independent, they don't need you, they can do their thing. But actually, no, they can't. They can't. And if you really observe this passive, very easy to work with kind of children, you will see it very quickly. but well, it takes some attention to be able to see and actually spending time with them to be able to see that. But anyways, let me go back to the clinginess thing. I don't want this video to be long. I need to go and take my nap. I'm very tired. Um, but I'm just gonna say that it's a good thing if your child is hanging onto you. It's very good. It's a sign that you're their safe place, you're their home base, and they're not always gonna cling on to you. Do you really think that your 12-year-old or your your 18-year-old is gonna hang on to you like that? No, they're not. And if you read Gabor Maté's, is it Gabor Maté? Yeah, Gabor Maté's and Dr. Gordon Neufeld, Hold On to Your Kids, which is, in my opinion, the very, very best parenting book out here and the most underrated as well, because there's so many parenting books, amazing authors, but this book is so underrated, it's mad. But if you read this book, you will understand why out of the blue, your children don't hang on to you. And what I mean by hang, well, your child's not going to spend 24 hours hanging on to you. They're going to go and play, especially when they feel safe, especially when they know they are safely attached and they can come back to mommy or to daddy anytime that they need. They're going to go and explore the world. They're not going to hang on to you 24/7. They have a life as well. So if you read this book, you're going to understand why suddenly, and you may observe it also from the book might have you thinking about your own childhood and teenage years. You will see why suddenly peers begin to matter so much. And as parents, a lot of parents do not see this as being a problem because we also grew up being peer oriented. And this is the first in the last 50 to 60 years, according to the research. Human beings have never ever been peer oriented. The peer has never been intended to be the person of attachment, the person to whom a child looks up to. In all species, the parents are the ones that are looked up to, the older ones, so that there is a vertical transmission of the culture, of the language, of manner, and all sorts of things, of acquired knowledge that you're not gonna learn in school. It's a vertical transmission. But for the first time, well, actually not today, but for the first time in the last 50 to 60 years, there is a horizontal transmission of culture and information and ways of being, and because children are attached to their peers and not by choice. A child needs to have a person of attachment. They need it. They need it to be able to live. Their mind is wired that way. They have to have a person of attachment. So if it's not you, the parents, you better believe it's gonna be somebody else. It's either it's you or it's someone else. Just because you're the parents. There's this particular phrase in the book, Hold On to Your Kids, that made me laugh. Actually, it's not funny, but well, it said that just because you're the parents doesn't grant you the position of being the attachment figure. You have to work at it. And you have to work at it more these days because there's so many distractions. For the first time in the last 50 years, children spend more time at daycare, spend longer days at daycare, spend much less time with their parents because their parents also spend much more time with their phones and their devices and being distracted. Not judging anyone, actually I am. Anyways, so parents are a lot more distracted than they used to be. It's not just you have work and maybe you have your friends, your social life, and then you come home and you are with your family and your children and you're present with them. Even if maybe you're reading a book, you are actually present with them. These days, you watch parents talk. I love saying we don't talk with our children anymore. We talk at them or we talk through our phones with them. Either we talk at them because we're constantly hurry up, do this, hurry up, you have to do your assignments, hurry up this, hurry up that. That's not a conversation. Or we're talking through our phones with them. Your child is speaking to you, and you would think that as soon as you hear your child speaking, as soon as someone hears their child speaking, they would react immediately. But it doesn't happen like that. It takes a few seconds for your mind to register that someone is talking to you when you're deeply absorbed into your phone. And I don't mean this in a judging way. That's just how our minds work. As powerful as we think we are. And we actually are really powerful. Multitasking remains one of those things that we haven't mastered yet, that we're not so good at doing. And when your child comes and they're talking to you, and you're so busy talking to strangers, and you think they're so dumb that they don't realize that you do not actually have time and are not actually being 100% present with them. I digress. Let's go back to our clinginess. As I was saying, it's very good if your child comes to you when they have a problem, hangs on to you, cries when you're leaving, especially if you're talking about a toddler, cries intensely when you're leaving, is pissed off when you come back, but hugs you still. That's normal. Those are signs of secure attachment, and that is everything that you want for your relationship with your child, unless you want them to be attached to their peers. And like I was saying, children do not get attached to their peers or to other people outside of us by choice. They do so because they need to have a person of attachment. Who am I looking up to? Who is my attachment figure right now? Who is keeping me safe right now? Who do I need to follow right now? That's how kids' brains work. So if your child spends a day, let's say 8 hours at the kindergarten, and they come home. Well, they left the house first. You are their attachment figure. You take them to the kindergarten, and you leave them there. They scream for dear life. You leave them there, and suddenly there's no attachment figure. They need to have someone. They attach to the caregiver there, or whatever you want to call them. And when you come back, what happens? I don't know if many people have noticed this. I noticed this in my personal life when my daughter was very young and we had a tagismuch. A tagismuch is basically a kind of babysitter or nanny, but she works from her place and she's approved from the state. It's a German thing. She's approved by the state and certified to take care of children, but she can only have a maximum of 3 to 5 children, if my memory is accurate. So this is what I noticed. I would take my child to her and she would scream when I was leaving. When I came to pick her up, she would scream. She didn't want to come with me. And I never understood this. I never understood this until I read the book, and it literally just broke my heart because it explained to me why this was happening. So basically, I gave her there. I sent, let me not put it in such drastic terms. I took my child to the caregiver, and when I leave her there, she needs a new attachment figure, so she attaches to the caregiver. And then when I come to pick her up, her brain has to detach and attach back to me. And that's why she cries, because she has had to grow up to be able to handle the situation, which is too much for her. She had to grow up and attach to this person. And suddenly you come and you want her to detach from this person, which was so much work to do in the beginning. I'm gonna talk more about that in another video that I have scheduled. But it's very important to work at your attachment. I know that the way that our lives are structured these days, some people are fully dependent. Sometimes we are fully dependent on daycares, and sometimes after school. It's just a translation from German. This when children stay longer at school, they have they're cared for at school after school hours because the parents are working. I know that a lot of people cannot or need time to change their lives or do not want to change the way that their lives are structured. But it's very important that when you actually meet your kids, when you actually meet them, allow them to be clingy. Give them space to be clingy. Don't make them feel like, oh, you're being too clingy. Mommy has had a long day. Who are you talking to? This child, even if they're 10 years old, they still have at least 20 years less of earth experience than you do. What do they know about working a 9 to 5? They've never had one before. They just know that they had a long day and they miss mommy, and it's your job to be an adult. And it's so no, I'm gonna talk about that in another video. But when you meet your children, basically be present. Be present. I remember hearing Brendan Burchard saying, when you leave work and you enter your car, before you start your car or get on the bus or whatever, take a few seconds to breathe and release. Release work from your mind and your spirit and everything. Release it. From every activity change, every major activity change, I would say, you should release the previous one so that you're not carrying work into your parenting, or you're not carrying your distraction into your parenting. And it's really, really difficult to parent these days because we're so distracted. We're so distracted. Even if we're not going to admit it, we're really, really distracted compared to previous generations. So yeah, basically, let your children be clingy. They need you they need to be safely attached to you, and you want to be their person of attachment, their attachment figure. You want that to be you. You do not want your child to orient themselves to their peers, and I'm going to talk more about that in an upcoming video. You want the attachment figure to be you. You want to maintain a strong, safe connection with your child so that you can communicate with them. They have to, no, they don't have to, so that they take their cues from you and develop in a safe, healthy way. And we're talking about safe families, safe, healthy individuals that want to raise their children to be grounded, well-rounded individuals. So I might have digressed a little bit, but I'm just gonna say, you probably came here if you clicked on this video, that was to find out why your children are clingy, if that is the title that I end up really putting like I intended to. But let them be clingy. Let them be clingy. They need you. And I'm going to add this, and go to bed, finally. If children were peer-oriented and had a good sense of self, had good values, good boundaries and stuff, cool. Be oriented to whoever you want to be. Be attached to whoever you want to be. Who cares? But that's not the case. There's no unconditional love in peer relationships. There isn't. And we want our children to be well-rounded and grounded and have a good sense of self and be happy within themselves. And they can't have that if they do not have a secure attachment with us. A lot of people might feel triggered listening to me say these things, but if you're open-minded, you will see for yourself moments in your life when your parents were not able to get through to you. And that is most of my generation. A lot of my generation, unless you come from certain countries. But yeah, the media has had us all being peer-oriented and our parents being very busy, and for the first time in the last 50 years, both parents being in the workplace full-time and the children being not left to themselves but not left to a safe attachment figure, have become peer-oriented and attached to their peers. And if you notice, a lot of rambling. This is what happens when people don't get enough sleep. So if this triggers you and makes you feel uncomfortable, sit down with those emotions and ask yourself why you feel uncomfortable. But I would hope that it triggers anyone who watches this video enough that they would be willing to be more present, first of all, with themselves. First and foremost with themselves. Because if you're not present with you, and I could say meditate, but meditation is just about being familiar with, becoming familiar with, which translates to getting to know yourself. How can you be the most ideal parent that I would think your calm higher self wants to be when you're right-minded, when you're in your right mind? How do you want to be that if you don't know yourself? If you never grant yourself any moments of silence because you're so busy with the noise and the chatter and this unending notifications, and my head hurts. I don't want this video to be extra long. We're 20 minutes in when I was planning to speak just for 12 minutes. So let your babies be clingy. They need you, and you may not believe this right now, but you need them to be clingy. And actually, I don't mean clingy. Cling is not the word. Let your children be attached to you. Let them come jump on you to have extra hugs. Let them want you to read them a story to them before they sleep. Let them want you to let them allow them to want to fall asleep in your arms. It's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever. They grow up so fast. You're going to sit at 50 years regretting all your hurriedness. I don't know if hurriedness is a word. It sounds like it's a word, so I'm going to use it. All your hurriedness, you're going to regret it. You're never ever going to regret not picking up a call, not replying to your social media texts or notifications, not watching an extra TikTok video to cuddle with your child before they fall asleep. Stop just going into your room, to the bedroom, your kid's bedroom, and just saying, good night, bye, see you tomorrow. Who does that? I know a lot of people do that. Stop doing that. They deserve more. They deserve more. And you're going to feel so much more fulfilled by spending time with your children. You're going to see them. There's something about being quiet and observing your children that makes you so much more connected to them and allows you to understand them more and understand yourself even more and learn so much more about life. I'm not even kidding. Anyways, that is it for me. I hope that the year has started marvelously well for you. And I thank you for watching my video. If you watched this far, I will see you in the next video. Bye.